Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of UGASports Live, along with Dayne Young and Hall of Famer Jim Donnan. My name is Radi Nabulsi. We have the best show that you can watch when it comes time to figure out what the hell is going on with Georgia Bulldogs. We have it down. We have Jim Donnan here, who breaks it down better than anybody else. This is a former Georgia head coach. Everybody in the industry loves him. They talk to him. They hit him up all the time. We can't get 5 minutes apiece when we're trying to do our watch-along show because all these coaches are texting him, asking him questions about the rest of the country. So, but we do have him for the next hour. He is ours. If you want to ask him questions, now is your opportunity. So if you're watching this on Facebook or you're watching this on YouTube or, hell, if you're watching it on Twitter, send in your questions, and we will pepper the coach with them and force him to give you answers. And we'll force him to answer the questions exactly the way you want to. So if you've got a agenda to push, now's the day to do it. So hit him up, and we will get those questions answered for you. And while you're here, also hit the like on our Facebook page and hit subscribe on YouTube. We're close to 20,000 subscribers. This is the fastest growing Georgia YouTube channel out there. So we want to keep that up. We want to keep up that pace. So please continue to do that. A big shout out to our friends over at Dead Soxy Academia Brewing Company, Your Pie, and Athens Ford for sponsoring this podcast. We'll talk about them later in the show. I know how much you guys love our commercials, but hey, we wouldn't have the show without them. So shout out to those sponsors. They mean a lot to us. I'm here at Classic City Eats in Watkinsville. There's a Galaga Pac-Man machine behind me, the proceeds of which go to charity this month. So there are Christmas lights going up all over the place out here. When you get a chance, swing by Classic City Eats. You'll absolutely love it. Great food. I'll tempt you later on in the show when they bring out my lunch, and you can just feel your mouth watering. Like my mouth watering was going on this past Saturday. Finally, my mouth watering player of the week, the guy that I've talked about all year.
You didn't pick him last week, though.
I didn't. I picked Jermaine Burton. So the one time I don't pick my guy, he shows out. So maybe I've been the guy holding back James Cook. But, Coach, let's talk about that Tennessee game. Offense. We'll talk offense or defense, your choice. But I'm just so proud and so excited for James Cook. I'm just thrilled to death that if you were the one that told us about it first, but he finally hit, and I thought James Cook had a hell of a week.
Yeah, I just thought it was a brilliant tactical performance by our coaching staff, first of all. Since we're talking about offense, I felt there was a really good job by Coach Monken and his staff, game plan-wise. Really, we talked about it in the scouting report that moves around the front, and they caught us a couple of times early with movement. And then, we had – to make a move at guard when, it was obvious Erickson was sick and put Truss in there, and he did a good job overall. And then, so basically, your starting left tackle and your starting right guard weren't playing. And so to win that convincingly was very impressive. We got off to a good start with a great drive, and then we kind of faltered there with 3 and out. But then I thought the second quarter just completely took over the game. But a couple things that were really saying in the old coach's mind here that I felt like really were very evident. The first thing was they cut Stetson Bennett loose. I mean, I think all year they've been very careful about with JT's situation as the backup being up and down whether he's ready to go or not. They've been very careful about letting Bennett run the ball. When it's obvious that he could. Against some of these teams, we've been very hesitant to do that. We did a little bit against Auburn when we needed it, and it worked. And then last week, just really cut him loose. And, I think the main thing is that he just gives you that element of that the defense has got to be really concerned about. And his ability to make something out of nothing continues to be really exciting because the play made on the goal line for the touchdown was just Johnny football-like. I mean, really good job. But getting back to the tactical thing, using Cook like they did, a lot of formations. And one thing that, to me, is coaching 100%. You go into Neyland Stadium, a terrible background for any offensive team. We had no motion penalties. We didn't jump offside. We did a great job of managing the game in a tremendous atmosphere for the other team. We see these teams come into Sanford Stadium and discombobulate. So I thought that was really impressive. that we were able to handle that, and we were able to do so much at the line of scrimmage, contrary to what some people think, which I really don't care. But we do a lot at the line of scrimmage. We change protections, we change plays, and the first touchdown was a tremendous audible where we went off the left tackle area where they were really a little soft there, and we blocked the heck out of it. So just the fact that our kids came in there and a little bit outmanned as far as the personnel, the new personnel, but not necessarily physically. Those guys came in and did a great job, Jones and Truss. But getting Burton back, making some plays. Mitchell just tremendous on that one drive, down after down. It was just made you feel good to know. One of the things that I always felt like when you make a plan and you work it, and then you go in there and you execute it, very satisfying as a coach. I mean, you're not going to out-coach many people, but you want your players to not get beat and do what you plan. And then if things don't work out and it is, hey, the other team beat you. But in this case, our plan was, mystical really, because, Tennessee never could figure out what we were doing personnel-wise. And they couldn't figure out, how to get to the quarterback and get off the field on third down, which I think 48% on the year has been a real problem for them. So just what really makes my mouth water and makes me feel like that I probably won't have to take anything to drink for maybe the rest of the day is what's ahead of us with Blaylock on the horizon, with Pickens on the horizon, with Salyer getting back healthy, with Erickson being able to play guard or center, and the fact that JT is ready now too. We'll see him this week, I'm sure, a lot against Charleston Southern. So just this team has endured a lot of adversity. People don't really realize all the different players that we've played without and the different mechanics involved in trying to piecemeal together. But there's a lot of difference between potential and performance. I felt like Saturday we really performed, and we played up to our ability, and tremendous job. As far as the defense is concerned, I'll hit that pretty quick. But, anytime you take two of your best players off the team, Anderson and Carter, neither one played. Carter dressed out but didn't play long enough just to throw a guy around that was in his way like a little fly there. But just had a little trouble getting adjusted early, and that happens. You can't really symbolize that in practice. And, they were working on our outside people, and we didn't get off blocks very good. I thought they were holding us a lot. They didn't call it on the perimeter, but, that's something that you just can't count on. But a really good move by the staff, moving Smith up to Star, who's a better cover guy. And we had Jackson in there helping support the run. And we knew going into the game, this team had given up a lot of sacks. I mean, they led the league in the sacks given up, and we were able to get to them for 6 sacks. And the speed of our defense continues to just really be very evident. And I think that's going to help us if Alabama makes the championship game. I think the way A&M rushed the passer, not near as good as we are doing it. So that's going to help us. The other thing, pretty evident that they really did a good job of throwing the ball. One kid caught 10 passes, and we had a lot of contested plays that we didn't really do very well with. So that's something we got to improve on. But, it's good to be able to coach that now, and the kids see it, that, hey, this is what some teams are going to look at to try to, challenge us. So we got to do a better job of, particularly like at the end, we're in a 3-deep coverage, and Kendrick lets the guy run past him, and they get that last touchdown. I mean, he's the best corner on our team, and you're playing 3 deep. You can't let a guy. You always say deep is the deepest guy, and the guy ran by him. But overall, kicking game was great. The fan support was great. I mean, you look at what Kirby Smart's done in the Eastern Division since he's taken over. Just incredible. We got beat by Hail Mary one time by Tennessee, and then Florida got us last year. But that's only 2 losses in the East in the last 5 years. So just keep on trucking, baby. And remember this. We've lost 4 games in the last 5 years, in the East. I mean, overall, 4 games in the SEC. Florida's coach, whatever his name is, Mullen, has lost 5 games this year. So be thankful what we got going there. So that's my little opening monologue. But remember this, and I don't know who the guy is on the bench that everybody likes, but I think Bulldog somebody. But hey, the best is yet to come from this team. I'm telling you, this team has got that wherewithal, that leadership, and I just feel like these next 2 weeks are going to really help us get well, and we'll get to play a lot of younger players, and we'll be ready to rock and roll when it comes to be those 3 playoff games, the championship game, and then the 2 games afterwards.
Champions are always the ones that overcome the adversity, right? And so when we started hearing that Georgia was trying to play with the flu bug on the team, having to travel some guys separately, and that ended up being, a total of 8 or 9 players not feeling well, Jalen Carter, Warren Erickson. We heard about some others as well. One of the things, Coach, that I thought about, because we got the question, why do you have Devontae Wyatt playing so late in a game that's a blowout when you need to keep everyone healthy? And I'm like, who the hell are you going to play?
Yeah, I think that was a real paradox there. Pride factor, you want to keep them out of the end zone and all that, but also we had some injury situations. You don't have Carter, I don't know what the situation was up front, but it's just I think Roddy, after the games were over, I would go back and read what he says because I know he usually says a lot of predictions that are really good. And one of the things he said was coaching matchup, how much pride the coaches take in it. And these guys don't want to give you an inch. I mean, they are chapped if you get anything. And I think it was just a pride factor. And I don't know what happened to Wyatt, but it's pretty obvious. Every team has guys that go down against these fast teams. I'm not saying that he went down. I'm not saying that they go down, but I am saying people go down.
Coach, you bring up a good point because
– and they get healthy over there within a minute. So
yeah, but if you've got any twinge, if I'm a coach, I'm like, look, if you're short of breath or your side hurts a little bit, or and we all played the game. Each play you can take a ding, a guy gets you in the ribs, especially the defensive lineman. I was offensive lineman. I know I did stuff to hurt other guys, and to me, if I hit a guy in the ribs and all of a sudden he's holding his ribs and he's down on one knee, and I'm like, damn it, I gave him an excuse. So if I'm the coach, I'm like, hey, take any excuse that you have that you need, and you just go ahead and take a knee out there. We'll send Ron Corson out there. He'll check you out. It's okay. You don't need to be tough this week, guys, because they're going fast.
And you don't have to tell them to do that either. I mean, they know it. Yeah. It's okay. I mean,
I'm saying if I were a coach, I would tell them. I'd be like, this is specific.
It's within the rules and people use it. But, the thing that's good about it is I know when to worry about an injury, maybe a little bit. I'm not going to say I know more, but I just know after a turnover and our kickoff team goes down there and then a guy looks like he's hurt, usually that's giving your team a little more time to rest. I mean, everybody does that. So,
yeah. But my larger point is with the flu being a thing that affected this Georgia team, I think Georgia needs to go to the SEC office and say, look, we were down potentially a lot of people because of the limits of the 70-man travel roster. Like that needs to be expanded for future years so you don't have a potential championship quality team get put in a really bad situation on the road late in the year.
Well, may be true, but I mean, you can take 70. You can go over and get 10 more guys. What do you mean?
I'm saying that needs to be like you have 70 men on the that's the roster now, right? Expand it more, take more players.
Well, I don't know if you can do that, but I mean, we could have the guys that were sick. We could have taken some extra guys and let them stay at home too. But they felt like some of them were going to be able to play. So it's just where do you stop? But it's like everything's supposed to be a cost-effective deal. You can't take the 70, but you can take 150 administrators.
Yeah.
And you can take all these, which is okay. Those people deserve it. They work. I'm okay with that. I have no problem with it. But our team takes up maybe 2/3 of the two planes, and we got other people that we definitely need that go on the trip. That as far as coaches, people like that. But that's the story anyway. You're not gonna change the SEC rule on that 70, but it's a good thing to mention.
I mean, you see the TV dollars, so like we know that's wordplay. I guess it's not an actual excuse. Like that's not a big deal to add, 20 players.
Maybe so. I mean, some leagues have that, but you got women's soccer, man. You got to take care of women's soccer. I mean, you got to take care of all these other sports, and that's where all that money's going. But hey, let's get some questions here. I mean, hey, how about those Georgia Bulldogs? Watch tonight. 7:00 when he picked the number one team in the nation. It's the Georgia Bulldogs, and everybody else is sniffing our butt. They're back there in second, third, fourth, and I think we see. I talked about it a couple weeks ago. I was worried about it if some reason we would slip up and lose to Alabama, which I don't think is going to happen. But we might not make it because of strength of schedule and all. But hey, our dominance on everybody else. The closest games we've had have been, 17 points. So that's going to help us. I think we're in the playoffs no matter what.
I agree. And I was kind of worried, Coach, when a few weeks ago I mentioned it just as a possibility. I said, look, if Georgia loses the SEC championship game, because they had clinched at that point, but I'm like, if you've got a one-loss Oregon, you've got a no-loss Oklahoma, you've got a one-loss Ohio State, I wouldn't worry. I didn't think an ACC team would get in. But I'm like, and Alabama gets in because of, they're the SEC champions with only one loss. And then you got to put in Oregon, you got to put in Ohio State, you got to put in Oklahoma. And it comes down to a 12-1 Georgia versus a 13-0 Oklahoma, even though Oklahoma hadn't played anybody. I'm like, it's tough to get two teams from the SEC in there. But
yes, it is.
But everybody else is losing, so it doesn't matter anymore. So Georgia's
here's the team to watch right now, and I hate to even mention them because I'm not going to use the word hate. I mean, I totally dislike Oklahoma State. I mean, but seriously.
I wonder why.
Oklahoma State's got a good path to being, 12-1 here, and they're going to have some big victories. We'll just have to see. But, Baylor's already lost twice. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State have lost once. So, but if Oklahoma State, I mean, you look at them against TCU. TCU the week before pounded Baylor. I mean, a guy that transferred from Oklahoma, their third-team quarterback, went down to TCU and passed for 400 yards against Baylor. And then last week, Oklahoma, with their great offense, couldn't make a first down on Baylor. So I think Oklahoma is living on Tulsa time right now. They're out. They won't be in the top 10 tonight.
They were barely in it anyway, even being undefeated.
They were eighth. But again, let's revel in the fact this is a hey. Let's talk about what's right. But if you want to ask me some little chicken manure things about what we don't do, then I'll be glad to answer it too. I mean, nothing against those kind of questions because that's part of you got to nitpick everything. I mean, that's true.
Well, that's my job, Coach.
But hey, do that. But think about what we've overcome this year. The guys we played without, starting with Ratledge, with Pickens, with Gilbert, Blaylock, Burton.
Yeah, I mentioned this on Twitter, Coach. If I were doing this tonight when they put out the list of the college football playoff rankings, to me, my number one team would be a healthy Georgia. My number two team would be Georgia as it currently stands. This is a team that you mentioned Tate Ratledge being out. So you lose Tate Ratledge, then you lose Erickson. You're down to the third option at your right guard spot. You have Broderick Jones in there at left tackle. You'd have a different quarterback than you started the season with, although, I think Stetson's doing a great job, but your QB1 isn't in there. Your wide receiver number one, George Pickens, isn't in there. Your wide receiver number two, Don Blaylock, isn't in there. Your wide receiver number 3, 4, and 5, say Jermaine Burton's been banged up. Marcus Roseby-Jack Saint's been banged up. Arian Smith's been banged up. You're losing all these guys. Darnell Washington was out a good chunk of the game, chunk of the season. But these guys a lot of them are getting healthy. And like you said, right off the bat, you got to be excited about where they're going for this stretch run. Now you got 2 weeks and I'm not trying to piss off the Tech fans, but Charleston Southern is going to be an easy game. Tech should be a pretty easy game. Going into that, and again, I'm just assuming Alabama wins it, although I know other teams can get in. But going into it, Georgia should be primed. And each week they've gotten a little bit better because something has been shown to them. A chink in the armor has been demonstrated the last few weeks. And Kirby's going to be fixing those.
Here's the thing about our offense, though. We rank in the top 5 in the country productivity-wise. We don't have one receiver in the top 25 in the SEC in receptions. We don't have anybody in the top 25.
Well, it seemed like there for about every 2 weeks you had a different receiver kind of emerging, Ladd McConkey in the middle of the season.
I mean, our go-to guy is Brock Bowers, and we go to him maybe twice a game. I'd like to see a little more of that. But
I want to go back to that, Coach, because when we were doing the watch along, you and I both mentioned the fact we expected them to go to the tight ends and attack those safeties this past week. I guess they just didn't need to.
Yeah, we had it, that's for sure. But things were working on the outside. I think our guys were proving they could beat them on the outside. Mitchell was doing a good job, and then McConkey had some good a good catch over the middle. But again, just some big time marches. It's hard to take a ball in a 2-minute offense on the road and execute like we did. That was just brilliant. And my point about the top 25 is whoever it happens to be that week has surfaced and done well. When you look at the different guys that have caught the passes when we need them, but we got guys that are household words here. Kyrus Jackson, Don Blaylock, George Pickens, that haven't hardly done anything, that are getting ready to rock and roll.
Yep.
Now, the depth we've developed has certainly helped us with we've been in bad shape without AD and McConkey, that's for sure. But there's a reason those 3 guys were ahead of them now. But, at the same time, that experience is going to be invaluable. And then you add the fact that all of a sudden, number 2, a guy from California, a guy that packs a punch, a guy that's really a good back, is getting ready to rock and roll too.
Oh, yeah, Kendall Milton.
So you put it there as a kind of in-between guy, in between Cook and who can do everything, and Zamir, who's a power guy and all. I mean, Milton can do a little bit of everything, but kind of like Kenny Mack. I mean, we're taking 4 guys to the dance that every girl at the prom would like to be dancing with. Every one of them would be. I mean, those 4 guys, they're impressive.
Coach, I wanted to specifically ask you about the 3-minute, 90-yard scoring drive, 12 plays. Brent and I broke it down yesterday. It's on Film Don't Lie, UGA's offense, on UGAsports.com this morning. That drive, because it was not a perfect drive. Stetson Bennett had to throw away a couple of passes. He had a couple that weren't as accurate. He got a lot of help from A.D. Mitchell, obviously from James Cook. What did you see from Todd Monken's play calling on that drive?
Just taking what they give you. Very good job of knowing what your 2-minute plan is and taking what they give you. Sometimes you think, look, they're going to play soft. We can attack the edges, and they don't do that. They play hard cover 2 or whatever it might be. Sometimes they, play cover 2, and you got to hit the middle more. And whatever we needed, 3rd down conversions, we came up with it, and then. That Houdini play that Bennett ran to his right and threw back across the middle to Bowers was just, that was PlayStation type stuff. I'm just going to tell you now, the guy is Johnny Football when you cut him loose. Now, we got to be careful about letting him run around too much, but he can make those kind of plays. I've seen him do it for 4 years now out there at practice. Used to piss Roquan off really bad out there, what he would do to our defense. So, you're getting ready to see a lot of that coming up here over the next couple of weeks because they're going to cut him loose. Stet the Jet.
Who was it that first coined at the Rose Bowl? Was it Mel Tucker that first said something about him? Or I can't remember which coach it was.
Yeah, I think Mel Tucker said something to Kirk Herbstreit about it. And Kirk was over here, and I had met him prior to practice, and he said, "Tell me about this Bennett kid." I said, "Well, he's a walk-on kid, runs a scout team, but he's emulating Baker Mayfield, and he's doing a great job of it." We stood there and watched him, and he said, "Wow." And that's one reason why he's talked up Stetson maybe a little more than some of these people when we have our games. But I'm also fired up about JT because I see the way he's throwing the ball, and he's going to be he'll be impressive Saturday. I mean, any way you look at it, Charleston Southern is just outmatched, and they really play a lot of vanilla defense, which you expect a team that outmanned a little bit would take more chances, but they play pretty base, so we're going to be able to do about what we need to Saturday.
I like the idea of having two good quarterbacks. I know everybody wants to talk about one or the other, but hey, you got two. And if Georgia fans remember, it was two great quarterbacks that busted your ass against Alabama. So if Stetson's having a bad day, you can bring in JT. If JT's having a bad day, you got Stetson. You can use them both as needed. It's again, we were talking about the fact that I left off one coach on our list of kind of injured players. Georgia's also not playing with the same center it started the season with. When Tate Ratledge goes down, Erickson has to move over, and he's done a great job having moved over. But again,
but hey, that's good. I mean, we beat that horse. I mean, hey,
I'm just mentioning something I left out.
I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying people don't want to hear that, though. I mean, I'd like to go over it because I give the coaches. I think Kirby and they're coaching the year. They should be national coach of the year.
They should.
Not because of the way they handled adversity, but just because of the way they beat the dog shit out of everybody. I mean, it's been embarrassing. Some of these teams really just pull their pants down right in front of everybody. So,
again, not doing it at full health is just the cherry on the cake to me.
No, you're good on that. You're good on that. Yeah. But I mean, and I think I've probably been a little bit too given. I mean, somebody's going to tell Kirby that I've been talking up about how good we are. I mean, hey,
don't do that.
I'm gonna come back down to earth. But my point was on the opening monologue, Johnny Carson type deal, was that I feel like that everything's ahead of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to be excited where you are right now.
We should be in good shape as far as we've had our share of injuries, and I don't, knock on wood, hopefully we won't get any more. But that was terrible what happened to Smith. I mean, he had a stress fracture, and then finally healing kicks him on a man coverage, and it shatters his leg again because it hadn't really, it's just so bad for the kid. I hate it.
Can't win for losing. Poor Arian Smith.
Hey, but Georgia's 8-0 and won the SEC games that it's played by an average of 32 points.
Average of how much?
32.
Good.
That dog will hunt.
Yeah. Speaking of hunting, when you get a chance and you're out looking for a good deal, swing by our friends over at Athens Ford. They will take care of you. They will find you a great either new vehicle or pre-owned vehicle, certified pre-owned. They're the state's #1 dealer in Ford certified pre-owned vehicles. Check them out. And I want to point out to our friends that if you go out there and buy a new or pre-owned vehicle, they're doing their Wishes for Wheels event. They just started it yesterday, and this is where from yesterday until December 15th, every car sold means there will be a bike donated to the Salvation Army of Athens, Georgia. So if you go out and you buy a vehicle from them, then they're going to donate a brand new bike, and there's tons of them out there, and they'll put your name on it, and it goes to the Salvation Army of Athens. They do this every other year. In between years, they do a different charity, but this is the big bicycle charity, and it's neat to go out there and see hundreds of bikes in the showroom because they got so many for the kids in the area, and it's a lot of kids are going to have a great Christmas. So when you get a chance, swing out to Athens Ford. They will take great care of you, and shout out to Brian Clover and the folks for doing that. Also, they're the big Bronco they have out there that people go out and look at. They're taking it to their custom parts department. They're tricking it out. You definitely want to go see it after they've customized to the bit. And if you want some customization for your vehicle, they have a great service bay out there. But if you want to do some custom stuff to your truck, your car, they have an entire department. It's not like one guy who has a little catalog book in front of them. They have an entire department designed for helping you do custom work. So check them out. And while you're on that side of town, swing by. You're only like a half mile, maybe a mile from Academia Brewing Company. If you want to watch the game this Saturday, be sure to. It's going to be on ESPN Plus. It's a little different, so you need to swing by Academia Brewing Company if you don't have the. You might not be able to watch it on your TV like you normally do. And go out there at noon. They're going to have great food, great drinks, great beer, tons of beer. Get a flight, try them out. Tonight they have Trivia Tuesday, of course. But something else I want to mention is on November 18th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. They're having the Brewery Comedy Tour. So if you want to go check out a comedy show, check out the Facebook page of our friends over at Academia Brewing Company. Ryan Lucia, who's on cloud 9 with the way this season's going. Again, Georgia graduate, had the dream of creating a brewery, making the best beer possible. His dream has come true. He makes the best beer possible. So now they've got so much room out there at that place that they can have comedy shows, live music every Thursday, Trivia Tuesdays. Check out our friends at Academia Brewing Company. You will not regret it.
Good mixed drinks too. I went there after a couple of the games this year and tried out some of their different stylings. So if you're a Moscow Mule kind of person, they can hook you up over there.
They will. All right, hit us up with some questions.
Is that a vodka? Some kind of vodka thing?
I don't really know. We talked about George Pickens, Rick Sanchez. Is George Pickens a possession or a receiver deep? Let me just start over with that one, my reading comprehension. Rick Sanchez on YouTube asks, is George Pickens a possession receiver or a deep threat?
He's the whole package. He can do whatever you want. He can catch the ball on third down. He can catch over the middle. He can catch the fade. He can catch the back shoulder. He can do anything. I mean, he's one of the best players in the country, college or pro.
And he'll still be a high draft pick even if he doesn't make it back to the field this year. He's that kind of talent.
No question.
Thanks, Pickle Rick.
Llama asks, Coach, have you ever seen a pass interference call worse than the one on Darion Kendrick where he got thrown to the ground?
There was a lot of shoving on that play. I was mad about it. I called offensive interference right off the bat, but prior to that, there was some shoving on by Darion. I mean, it's just the initial call was based on what Darion did when the guy was, once the guy's past you, he's no more a threat, no longer a threat to block you. So you can't really hold him up. But there's a lot of that goes on, and they let a lot of it go by with that. But it was, at the time, I thought it was really bad, but I could see why he would call it on Darion with what he did first. But, what that guy did made me think it could have been just, hey, keep the flag in your pocket.
Gabriel asks, Coach, would you rest players in this game against Charleston Southern if you were coaching this team?
Hell yeah, I'm going to rest them. I'm going to play them some, but I ain't going to go out there and I'm not being smart to this guy, but sure, yeah, we're going to try to get everybody ready and let them play. But I thought Kirby did a great job yesterday on his press conference saying this is a tribute to the seniors. We owe it to them to come out and play well. The rest of the team needs to prepare where we give a tribute to them. The fans do. It was always an emotional time for me to stand out there and watch a kid run down through the players and see his parents and all and think about everything that a guy had gone through from, recruiting him all the way to some of the adversity, some of the highs and lows. But it's just a real emotional time, but it's also a very good time because you think about where that guy was and where he is now and what you had to do with him as far as making that success, but also what he did on his own to do it. I mean, you don't take much credit for it, but it's like, when a kid graduates from college or high school, I mean, you just think about when the kid was a little kid and what all they've gone through. So I think answering the question very succinctly right now, though, because I've gone very quickly to a lot of stuff, but everybody on the team needs to play do your job and get in there and get a few reps, and then let the other guys get in there and see what they can do. I know that one thing that Kirby's always done in games like this is the week in the game is let the twos go against each other a little more instead of going against the one, so they can really work on trying to develop a little bit instead of being like a scout team for the ones and all. So we'll see a lot of players out there Saturday, and hopefully some of these guys that have been on the scout team to get to dress out might get to go cover a kickoff. And I remember one time this one kid that was on our team, he said, "Coach, if there's any way that you could just let me cover a kick," said, "I'll remember it the rest of my life." And I said, "Well, you know what? We'll just have to see." And I mean, starting about the third quarter, he was tugging on my collar and hitting my arm. "Coach, can I do it? Can I do it?" So, and you got the other guys you're trying to let play too, but I let him do it, and he really had a thrill for him. And he didn't go down there and jump on the pile or anything or get a penalty. But it's just you don't know really. All of us take the pride of going into Sanford Stadium and being a Georgia Bulldog and all, but boy, I tell you, some of these kids that go out there every day and run the scout team and just get yelled at because they don't read a card right and all, but just to be able to dress out and wear the red and black, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, they want to be able to say that, look, I've played on that field. I've been in a live game. It means a lot to them.
Exactly.
I've been doing this for, not, of course, a third as long as you have, but I've always been close to the walk-ons and guys like that because they reach out to me. "Hey, did you get a picture of me at practice? Hey, did you get a picture of me when I dressed out?" And if they get in the game, it's like, "Please tell me you got a photo of me." And I can see how much it means to them. They'll get it on one play. I get a picture of it, send it to them. And I've had them come up to me 15 years later going, "Hey, that picture that you took of me is framed in my – hell, Burt Jones. His family hired me to take pictures of him when on kick coverage." So,
Burt was a good cover too. I mean,
he absolutely was. He made a lot of time.
Hey, keep on. Hey, be voting for Burt. You never know where he's going to end up. He's a great young.
I'm gonna cash that in when he's the president or something. So, but
the best speech that I ever heard at a banquet was when we had a national championship banquet at Marshall. We let all the seniors say a couple words, and so we had Troy Brown was who played for the Patriots, and Mike, National Player of the Year. I mean, one guy after another, just all stars. And this one guy gets up there, and he, I didn't even know that he was going to talk because he never even played hardly. But he let them all talk, which was good. And he gets up there and he said, "Look, most of you don't know me. My picture's never been in the, I'm number 64 and all this." He said, "But let me tell you." And then he stopped. And he said, "I was on this team. Every day I came out there and did what I was supposed to. I ran the scout team. Whatever I needed to do, I helped this team. And I'll always remember what I learned being around these coaches and these players, what it is like to be on a team." I mean, I almost it right there. I mean, what a speech. It was incredible. I was on this team. Wow.
I love it. That's a great one. I was thinking about the idea of these a game against Charleston Southern. You would go out there and you'd have your starters play, get a score some touchdowns and then hand it over to the second team. But how often it seems to me, Coach, if you're a starter or something like that, you're like, "Hey, no, I busted my tail against Florida's and Tennessee's and Arkansas. I want an easy game. I want to go get my stats up." Do you ever get
that? Yeah, I mean, it's a real fine line for that. I mean, I don't think this team's worried about stats. I think they're –
I'm just saying philosophically, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you got to look at. And then, you put the second, thirds in there. Maybe Charleston Southern gets a few scores on our defense, and then that makes our defense really mad because they weren't in there. But, hey, you can't get too caught up in that.
I'm just curious.
But I think it's great that these guys can play. And the one thing I would say, you can't choreograph and think, well, hey, we're going to play these guys and then we'll put these up, because there's things that happen. turnovers or
Ask
guys
Florida.
drop. Yeah, I mean, who knows what? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Florida's game plan was, but man, somebody needs to send them a scouting report on Sanford and say, look, these guys run fast. They run play quick. I mean, the first quarter, Florida didn't even know how to line up. I mean, what were they doing there? They must have been inventing a new defense, Grantham, where they were going to do all these things that were different, and they forgot you got to line up. And God, they just killed them with the speed. I mean, they had some guys with some visual coverage on them. I mean, they were so open, and but that's the kind of games that really do make you dance. So they really do. They kind of help you out.
I think I heard that was Florida's first game that wasn't like nationally televised.
Making you dance.
Yeah. I didn't.
I mean, that's what they did. They danced. It's a dancing win.
I saw Mike Leach dancing in the locker room too after an actual win. That one was kind of funny. Mike
Leach, man, he needs hard work on his skill level on that dancing now. I mean, I'm not that great a dancer, but he needs to go see Arthur Murray or somebody.
Hey, Roddy, are there any younger guys that you're excited to see get, what looks like to be a lot more playing time in this game?
I want to see some of those new guys on the offensive line because it's such a – and I actually asked Kirby about this on Monday or yesterday. I was curious about why certain positions rotate. Coach, maybe you could weigh in on this, but you play the same 5 offensive linemen for the entire game, but you play, 7, 8, 9 different defensive linemen. You play the same 2 cornerbacks, but you play 8 different wide receivers. You play the same safeties and usually middle linebackers, but you rotate through 5 different running backs if you have all 5 healthy. You don't switch out quarterbacks. You don't switch out certain positions. Don't switch, but when it comes to a game like this, I kind of look from the inside out. I want to see, and don't get me wrong, I want to see Jackson Meeks and some of the other cornerbacks. Lavoisier, Carroll, see what Kamari Lasser can do on the defensive side. But I want to see that big Devin Willock in there. I want to see Chad Lindbergh, Austin Blasky, guys that some of the guys you forgot were on the team on that deep offensive line chart. The guys, the big hogs that have to lift all those weights and do all those runs and stuff. It's harder on them. I want to see those big boys get in there and kind of see what they can do. I mean, Justin Schaefer, this is his last rodeo. Jamari Sawyer is going to be gone. Let's see what some of those other guys can do that you're going to have to come in and play next year. So I'm more excited about the O-line and, maybe some of those, where's Dylan Fairchild? Let's see what he can do. Micah Morris, there's a whole bunch of offensive linemen we haven't seen yet. And I'm kind of excited about that. But Coach, why do we not see as much rotation at some spots versus others?
You're going to have to re-ask that one real fast for him.
No, it was it's one I asked Kirby about it yesterday, Coach, about why some positions have some rotate and some don't.
Yeah, I heard you. Kirby made a
good point. He made a good point about the defensive line. He's like the offensive line, they know where they're going and they're controlling one spot, whereas the defensive linemen have to run all over the damn place, and they don't know what's coming. They don't know. They have to give full effort on every snap because they might have to chase somebody down. So you need to rotate those bodies a lot more. He didn't really touch on changing up the, why you don't change up running backs or why you don't stick with one and you rotate them more than you do the safety or something like that. But he made a good point about, I didn't think about the defensive linemen having to run so damn much and why they would need a breather, whereas the offensive linemen are kind of controlling a space and it's easier on them.
Yeah, I mean, for some reason, we do rotate receivers. Even when we got the good guys, we rotate a lot of receivers. And, maybe it's for blocking on the perimeter or whatever it might be. And usually, last year we had a couple 3 corners where Coach came out some and that Daniel Skid played some. But I think it's just philosophical on the other part. We got any more questions here?
There was one. We were talking about players you might want to see. This was from Ed Dog on UGASports.com. Do you think that Brock Vandergrift gets in against Charleston Southern?
He could. I mean, he's not going. It's not going to affect his red shirt because he hasn't. We just have to see. I mean, you got Beck. I would think they would go a little bit further with JT just because he hasn't had live reps there, and so I think it's kind of a stretch to think you could get 4 guys in. But one thing that I've been impressed with Brock. First of all, no question, his high school career just shows you what he can do. But the fact that when you're a scout team quarterback, that's a very very tough job because you're trying to please the defense as far as doing exactly what to do. So sometimes you're throwing the ball where you.
Did I do that?
Nope, I don't think so. I think his internet cut out for a moment.
I was about to say,
That was going to be a fantastic point on Brock Vandergriff and the scout team. I was feeling it.
I hit a button right as he said that. It felt like I cut him off, and I'm like, wait a minute, how did I do that? Crap.
Well, we'll get his thoughts when Coach gets back on here. Maybe some internet troubles.
I do wonder how much, how deep you let JT Daniels go into the game, because I know a lot of people want to see him, but what if you're up 50-0 or something like that? Do you keep letting JT get in there and throw it? I mean, you want him to knock off the rust, as they say, which I'm not worried about the rust. He gets to go up against the Georgia defense day after day. I'm not worried about him being rusty or something like that.
He's played a lot of football. I don't. Yeah. I've never understood that one.
Yeah, but it's funny. We don't say that about. You expected Xavier Trust to come in and not screw up, right? It's like, come in. Hey, do not get a motion penalty. Do not go. We gave him 9 types of help because when he came in a couple weeks ago and he ran downfield on a pass play when he shouldn't have. It was a legal man downfield. It's like, you're an idiot. Why'd you do that? And rightly so. You're not supposed to do that. But when a guy gets in who hasn't played in a while or hasn't played a whole lot, we don't give them the benefit of the doubt of knocking the rust off. And I don't think the quarterback should have the same. If you're ready to go, you're ready to go. Hey, Carson, put your damn helmet on, get out there and play. Now the timing, yes, that's something to me you got to work out. So I'm not worried about his rust. I would be happy to see him work on his timing to get back into the flow of it, get back to the speed of it, and just absolutely. To me, if I'm Kirby Smart, I'm like, look, Charleston Southern, we're paying you a lot of money. I hate to be an ass, but my quarterback who's been banged up this year, he's going to throw it. He's going to fling it. Oh, and guess what? When Carson gets in there, he's going to throw it too. And this freshman quarterback I got, a kid named Brock, I need to let him throw it too. Oh, and I'm going to let him run it maybe.
It may be A.D. Mitchell, the guy that just roasted Tennessee for, the whole second quarter. So.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's not like you're going to put in bad receivers because your depth chart all the way down is now pretty much really good guys. Yeah. I'm trying to think of who's left over there who hadn't scored a whole lot.
Jackson Meeks would be, I guess, him and Johnson, right? Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, and we know Jalen. Hell, Jalen started games, didn't he?
He's a solid player.
Yeah, so Jalen will torch you. Jackson will torch you. Jackson will lay you out. He hits. So. And then just like, okay, well, we're going to bring in we've had all these successful running backs. We're not going to hit you with Zeus anymore. We're not going to have James Cook gashing you. Maybe we're going to reserve Kendall Milton till later, but okay, we're even going to pull Kenny McIntosh. Here's Dejon Edwards and Savon Clark. They're going to score too. They're just going to keep running it down your throat. Good luck. You're going to get your butts kicked by them. It's not going to be pretty.
Here's an injury question from Thomas Orzak. Should not Tate Ratledge be back for the playoffs in January? That'd be a no. He is out for this season.
Yeah, he's not. It'd be nice to get him, but again, that's think about it, you lose him that opening drive, and then so you don't have your starting right guard, then your second right guard, then your center. Crazy, but you kicked Kentucky's teeth out. I do want to give a shout out to our friends over at Dead Soxy. If you want to pull up their website there, share it. I'd appreciate that. They do have quite the deal going on right now. They're the best socks you can get. And I told people before the season started, I said, look, we have a new sponsor. They're called Dead Soxy. Get your lucky socks. I've been wearing my lucky socks, and Georgia's 10-0. Coincidence? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure the only reason Georgia's been successful, despite all those injuries, is the fact that I'm wearing the right socks. So you're welcome, Georgia fans. You are so welcome. But join me because you need all the luck you can get. Because in the SEC championship game, you're going to have to beat Alabama or whoever, plus the refs, as we see. So hopefully the Sox will get you past the refs, and the football team will take care of the other football team, and it'll be even. Now, if you go to Dead Soxy and you get those fantastic socks with the true stay technology, the ones that don't slide down, and the ones that have that great buttery soft feel, they just feel amazing, and they look great because they're red and black. You go to the alumni section and you get your red and black ones, and they have some new styles coming. I will tell you about those later. But normally, if you go over there, you can get a discount of 25% off by using promo code UGASports. Great deal, right? Now they have a 35% off early bird special, basically for the it's a pre-Black Friday sale. So go over there, put in code early bird, and get 35% off these socks. Now it's Christmas here. There's Christmas trees up in the Classic City Eats. Next week's Thanksgiving. It's time to start buying your Christmas gifts. While supplies are available, head over to Dead Soxy, get your socks, get 35% off. Get them for the Bulldog fan in your life. Get them for yourself. Treat yourself. Or, get some dress socks for work or no-shows to work out in. They'll take care of you. Also, today is Tuesday, and we always tell you on Tuesday if you want to order anything from your pot, if you want a great pizza, you want a great salad, you want a great sandwich, do it on Tuesday. Use the app, get double points. The pizzas and the salads and the free breadsticks and all that stuff, the free gelato, all the free drinks, all that stuff adds up incredibly quickly when you use the app. It's not one of those, I think it's like a Subway app or somebody out there. It's like, get points, and it never amount to anything. Well, these points add up super quick, and if you do it on Tuesday, it's double points. So you get twice the points, and you get to your pizzas and free stuff twice as fast. That's from our friends over at Your Pie. Man, I have not spoken to our buddies at Your Pie in a while, but huge Georgia alums, huge Georgia fans. They probably bouncing off the walls too. So when you get a chance, hit up our friends at Your Pie.
Let's see if we can fit in a couple more questions here. Roddy, which of Georgia's coaches is most likely to leave for a head coaching job after the season, and where do you think they could possibly end up? That's from BMAR67 on the event at UGASports.com. Worth it to note that Justin Fuente fired at Virginia Tech earlier today.
Okay, well, Dan Lanning to Virginia Tech. Let's start the rumors now. Dan Lanning's he is on a lot of people's short list. He shows up all the time, but so too is Todd Monken. This is a guy who's a former head coach. He will have a lot of options. Get used to it, Georgia fans, because you are now going to be having the same problems that Alabama had. Every time you are this successful, people are going to come and try to poach your coaches. Because why are you successful? You have great coaches. They're learning from Kirby, And
they can recruit. That's the biggest thing.
I was about to say. So let's see what's happened to two guys that were hired away from Kirby Smart's tree. Mel Tucker, probably one of the most, coach of the year, probably. Sam Pittman, another, coach of the year candidate. So these guys have learned how to recruit. They learned how to run a system like Kirby does. So of course those guys are going to, if you're at these schools, and I think there's 8 coach openings right now, head coach openings, or maybe 9. There's another one I didn't realize even Fuentes was out, but boom, now all of a sudden they're looking around. Hey, who does Alabama have that we can hire away? Who does Georgia have that we can hire away? It's going to happen, but give Kirby Smart credit. For people that don't remember what a Rolodex is, it's basically, you have cards, a little file there. His list of coaching candidates to replace him is pretty legit. He also does a great job of promoting from within, so when he needs to go outside the system, he'll find a great coach, and it may be a big name, it may be someone you never heard of, but he knows a lot of coaches, and he recruits coaches as well as he does recruits players. So if you do lose some coaches, don't worry about it. I would not be surprised to see Dale McGee get some offers. He's one of the best recruiters in the nation, if not the top recruiter, and a lot of people want him as a head coach. So
I was told that Georgia Southern at least checked in with him before they hired Clay Helton.
They most certainly did. Very, very hard.
I think that's a very tame way to say it, but
yeah, that's a very tame way to say it. Yes,
but that also tells you something. Should that be the case, that whether it got down to where I guess he didn't get to the point that a job would be offered to him if he just didn't have preliminary interest, right? So that tells you that there's a coach out there.
All these guys want to be a head coach.
No, he wants to be a head coach, but what he's saying is I'd rather be Georgia's running backs coach than Georgia Southern's head coach.
Or maybe sometimes it's just a timing thing. It's like, look, they want it right now because, I mean, we've got signing day in less than a month.
Yeah.
So some people are like, look, we got to have somebody in place. We're going to be killed. So that's why you're seeing all these guys get fired ahead of time, and they're trying to get the hires in place. And a lot of them say, look, let's go ahead and fire our coach and hire a guy in also because we want to jump on any coaches that are currently available. Let's get on them quick. But it's sometimes it's in other words, I don't expect to see a situation where you will see these coaches linked to other jobs, but I think everybody is solid through the title game. I don't see a situation where it's like, hey, Dan Mullen's taking the head coach job at Virginia Tech, and he's spending half the week in Athens and half the week,
you said Mullen. You meant Lanning.
The Lanning, yeah. Well, Dan Lanning is the new head coach of the University of Florida after they get fired from losing to FSU. He's not spending half the week in Athens, half the week in Gainesville. I think these guys will, and again, this is just a pure guess, but they know that they're on a special run. And they are very loyal to Kirby. And although this could be the opportunity of a lifetime, I don't expect them to hurt Georgia's chances by having one foot out the door. I think they will all do like Kirby Smart did. He finished up his season before he came to Georgia.
Question directly for you, Roddy, from Savannah Dog on UGASports.com. Do you wake up each morning and just wonder, how can I out Munson Savannah Dog? Because right when he starts to feel good about Georgia, you sweep in with some stuff to worry about.
No one can out Munson Savannah Dog. Savannah Dog is one of our oldest posters on the board. I don't know his age, but just one of our founding member of UGASports.com. And we'll be the first to tell you he has a very pessimistic view, especially of referees and of other programs. But again, I consider myself to be an incredibly optimistic person. But I do – there comes an issue when you're close to the team. We know a lot of recruits. We know a lot of their parents. We know a lot of players. We know a lot of support staff. We know a lot of coaches. And what you'll hear about is, oh, we had a great practice. We're killing them. Except we had this problem where we couldn't pass protect, or we couldn't this guy was just getting killed in coverage. And you're like, ooh. So you find out what the flaws are. So it makes you a little nervous because you're thinking if the other team finds out, if the other team can figure that out, crap, they'll be in a world of hurt. So the less you know, sometimes the more optimistic you are because you don't know the warts, And again, no one can out Munson Savannah, but there will not be a happier person in the universe when Georgia wins it all, whatever they do, than Savannah Dog.
One question from Chris Dixon on YouTube, and this will probably be our last one that we have. He just asked, what about Clay Webb? That's a name that we don't hear about that often on the offensive line.
Well, Clay's just been we talked about poor Arian Smith getting banged up. Clay Webb has had I'll say a litany. He's just had ridiculously bad luck, when it comes. I think it was an ankle injury. This is a kid who was one of the most technically sound guys I've ever seen. Just sheer technique when it comes to blocking. And in high school, I would film him and say, "Look, this is how you do it, guys. This is how you fight with your hands. This is how your footwork should look. This is how your body lean should be." One of the most technically sound guys I ever saw, highly rated, but just can't get past the injury bug. So, and he's also that had put on a ton of weight. He's a very slight guy. I expected him to bulk up a lot more, but I know he had some issues there too. So, I hate it for Clay. He's the smartest kid on the team, probably. Probably the smartest kid at university. Genius. So, I hate it. I hate to see that he's not out there playing. I expected him to come in as a freshman and play, but that's it doesn't always work out that way.
We need to apologize again for the internet issues here in the last 15 or so minutes with Coach Donnan. We'll have him back for I think we'll have around the league with him this week. He's got a little travel going on as well. But Roddy, what's our status for Saturday, man? This is like an off-air question I meant to ask you, but now I'm asking on air. What's our status for the watch-along show on Saturday?
Well, we're going to do it by hook or crook. Right now, I'm hoping to do it out here at Classic City Eats in their golf simulation room. They have that fantastic room where you come out here and actually hit golf balls inside, and it's on the big computer screen. Figure we could put up ESPN Plus on the screen there and just do the watch along here. Maybe see if we can find somebody, a third, to join us. So we'll have to
go ask some questions while you're in there.
Yeah,
see if you can make that happen.
Yeah, they're actually back there checking out right now. So
yeah. Well, otherwise, we just invited people to something that's not happening. So look for Roddy's Twitter to see what's actually going on with that.
We will definitely come up with some way for everyone to watch the show or watch the watch along. So
cool. Well, that's all the questions we have for here. If you want to wrap the show, we'll be back for next week.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check out Around the League this coming Thursday with Dayne and Brent and Coach Donnan. I shout out to AccuW Brewing Company, Classic City Eats, Your Pie, Athens Ford, and of course Dead Soxy for sponsoring it. I need to put up we had 4 people win the Dead Soxy prize pack this week. We had 4 people accurately predict the score of the game, and my tiebreaker was, hey, guess the number of tackles Jacoby Dean would have. 4 people got the score right and the right number of tackles.
Hot damn.
That never happens. So
get them to Vegas.
Well, no, I got to buy 3 more kits to give them away, but we will do that. We'll be sure that everybody won the predicted the score correctly and tied for the tiebreaker gets a kit from our friends at Dead Soxy. Oh, and I also want to shout out to our newest sponsor, Rogue Apothecary. So if you need some CBD oils or any of the hemp products, check out Rogue Apothecary. Use promo code Bulldogs10 to get a discount on your order. They will take good care of you. So I've talked to Richard out there. He is a fantastic dude. They sell some fun stuff. So check out Rogue Apothecary when you get a chance. All right. Take care. We'll see you next week.
An error occurred while we're on a live broadcast. I wonder if I just leave the studio now. This may be going